All right, so we're gonna go quick behind the scenes a little bit. So I've seen this like a lot. Like when I finish one, like I usually go watch it like, you know, twice right after it's done, and then like the next day I'll watch it again or some shit. A few more times like throughout the day. I just want to like make sure it's good, you know? And like every time I rewatch this, I was like laughing my ass off. You would think like, "Oh yeah, you know, you made it. You're, you know, of course you're going to think it's funny." But it's like I never watched this in its entirety when I was making it. I would like rewatch the portion that I was doing, whether it be like, you know, the first interaction with the aristocrat and him. I would rewatch that, make sure it was done well. I wasn't really focused on like the content of it necessarily. I was focused more on like, oh, does this look good? And then when I finished that, I would go on the next scene, but I wouldn't watch like the first scene and then the next scene. I would just watch that second scene. So I didn't watch it in its entirety until like it was done. And even then, it still worked for me. Let me go through it. So at first, like, so I was worried that this would be a little too wordy, because in the beginning here, he's making points. Like every point he's making, is something that calls back to like a later, you know, something that happens later on. Obviously, he's talking about the, you know, the whole, you know, the rich have everything and shit. But so this joke, so when he was saying like what you need to keep your head above water, immediately my head went to like Razor Fist, and I'm like, what, like, it went to like Futurama and like the fact they have heads in like those bowls and shit. And I don't know why my head went there. And I don't even think the joke really lands. I think it's just like the fact that people like Razor Fist. And funny enough, this is like the portion of the episode where most people comment on it. Not because this is like the first thing that happened, but I think it's because like it's the most memorable for some people. And that was surprising to me. I didn't think people would latch onto the Razor Fist thing. But I guess it's unexpected. But the joke is like keeping your head above water. Razor Fist his head is in water, so I thought, you know, I don't think it lands really well, but I guess an excuse to put Razor Fist in it is enough for me and some people. So I needed something to break up the monotony of like him talking so much, because I feel like if it would have been like hold on, what was it? So he starts talking at like roughly around 10 seconds. And if I didn't have that Razor Fist portion, it would have been almost a minute until you see something happen. And I'm like, I need something to break it up. Because originally I was going to have it where he's talking and then the aristocrat shows up afterwards. But I think a minute of just talking and nothing happening, I think that doesn't catch people's interest. So that's why I had to include something. The first interaction is pretty basic. I was planning to use the music the whole time. The music was definitely going to be involved in somehow. And I was actually worried about copyright, because I know that song is a pretty famous song. And some songs have like the power to like break your video. Like it's just unviewable for anybody. So I lowered the volume, I played with the audio a little bit, and I made sure that it didn't, you know, YouTube didn't like kick my shit in and tell me like, oh, you can't do this. I had to test it out a little bit, but pretty self-explanatory. I love that Hat brought this up like at the end. Like he should be holding his jacket the whole time. Like obviously there's portions of this where he's not, but I think like that is his character. Like he's just always holding his jacket. I think that was a good recommendation on Hat's part. And yeah, you see Razor Fist again because of you threw him on the ground and I was like, his glasses are all fucked up. I actually had a lot of fun animating Razor Fist. I made a quick ass like little animation of his head floating in the water. And the fact that all his videos are like black and white, I wanted to make him black and white for some reason. I don't know. I thought that like would fit. So yeah, now Razor Fist is gone. I want to make sure like, okay, that joke is like, we did it twice. I don't think I'm going to do it third time. Let's have him just chuck it out there. And again, we're getting into another talky scene. I had a lot of fun with the motion here, like getting his arms and everything moving. Like in the past, it would have seemed a little stiff, but I love like this is the first secular talk one where I I have the new model with the joints. So his forearm is detached from his upper arm. Whereas before it was just like one arm, you know, just one arm moving at this pivot point. But thanks to the See or No stuff and the models there, I was able to do this for this one. And I think I'm really happy I went with that decision, because that really helps with the fluidity of it. This one is, so I didn't include these pearls in the beginning, but I thought it would have been funny to include like a clutching of the pearls moment. This is taken from Hillary. Golden was saying something about that. It's just a reference to like the fact that like they clutch their pearls, you know, like me. So I thought it'd be funny if he had pearls. I mean, it's very simple. It's a little sight gag, but I did want him to like grab onto it, but I don't know. I feel like him holding the jacket with the pearls. I think was good enough, you know. That was like a last minute. That was like one of the last things I did. Actually, was add the pearls. And this is where I had some fun. I think Murdoch recommended this, where I just like instead of him going like you know, like do something fun with it. And I think I need to do that more with this. You know, it doesn't have to make sense, because my stupid head goes to like, oh, his head explodes. Now what? Like, does he just come back with a new head? And I'm like, yeah, why not? You can. You know, so I need to like loosen up a little bit with that, because my head goes to like, okay, why does his head explode? How does he get his head back? Like, that's I go into more logical reasoning, and I don't need to do that with this medium. Like, I really don't. Just go crazy with it. I think too much with these. Like, obviously I put a lot of thought into these, but I need to have more fun with it. And I think I did with this one, more so than other ones. Because obviously the whole cartoon shtick of like your head exploding is like so overdone, you know. So I don't want to make it a continuous thing. So this one is, you know, he's talking about art, and then I wanted to include a piece of art, and then I checked on Amazon, and it was like around $20-$30 or something. But I think that would have been that's a good representation of like a middle class, you know, piece of art. And funny enough, so you see him holding this piece of art, and then you see Monopoly Man, which makes his debut. I hid him from you guys because I wanted to provide a little surprise, but I think it was obvious. Like, who would I use as an aristocrat? I fucking love Monopoly. Of course, I'm gonna include this artwork to the left. Actually sold for $43 million. That's an actual price. Someone actually paid that amount for that piece of art. And then the one to the right, that sold for $82 million. I wanted to find like ridiculous pieces of art that sold for the amount that they're talking about, $20 to $25 million, or $20 to whatever $1 million worth of art. I needed to find something so ridiculous that would portray that like someone actually paid that for that. Like, and the Bold and Brash is ironically the better piece of the two, because it's more, you know, more visually appealing. It's funnier. So you see, look at the Monopoly Man suit. Like, it's just like one piece, and then when he gets close enough, that's another part that I have to keep in mind. Like, it's a separate part, so it looks like he has his hands, he has his thumbs under it, and his fingers are above it or on top of it. So that was like another piece I had to keep in mind. Every time you're moving the body, I have to move the suit piece as well. So that was like another. I don't think it was the most practical way to do it. I feel like I could have done it better, but like, I mean, I got the effect that I wanted, so it was just kind of annoying sometimes to like keep track of the suit part with the body. Like, it had to make sense too. This is one of my favorite parts, right? So Kyle makes, if you guys watch that segment of him talking about this, I posted it in the description of the animation. He talks about, like, you know, the rich and everything, this article, and he's making farting noises, dude. And I'm like, no, he actually painted the scenario where like the rich are smelling their own farts, and I'm like, I have to do that. I have to get like the most fancy cup, and I have to get like this. I have to use this farting noise for them to for them to smell their own farts. I like that he's like pushing against, like his fart is pushing against the cup. It's like oh, it's so powerful. He's pushing against it. Like, I love that little effect. I really sold that the power of the fart. And then originally I wasn't gonna have him smell his fart. I just was gonna have one guy smell his fart. But he did the fart noises twice, and I'm like, I might as well do it twice. Because I needed to figure a way. Every scene with these guys, like I need to figure out a way for them to get away, to just leave the shot, so Kyle can continue his segment. So I needed to figure out a way for them to like just, you know, go off screen or something. But so smelling his own farts, passing out. This part. But originally I was gonna have him like, you know, do the typical like, oh my god, his hands on his face, like. But I'm like, that's kind of boring. I need something more interesting. It took a little bit. This actually took a lot more work than you would think, because I wanted to get it right, and I wanted the head to be to look somewhat proportional to like his hand going through his face. And the sound effect, of course, the sound effect is like what makes it. Okay, here, this is all Murdoch. All of this right here is Murdoch. I did not have this in the original script, but while I was doing the storyboard, this is why I do a storyboard with you guys, because if you guys come up with good ideas, I can include last minute changes. I just love the idea of, I think this is one of the funnier parts of the episode. This is like my top 3. It's just like Karl Marx just like sad and turning away, and then just like he gets, look, he's so excited because he hears someone's like into communism now and a Marxist. He's just like so excited to share the book of the Communist Manifesto. And then Kyle's just like freaking out. I'm like, obviously he's just fucking around. And he just leaves. He just leaves. It's so sad. Yeah, originally I was gonna have him slip on a seltzer bottle and then fall, but like I thought about it and I'm like, this is not really a comedic moment. It's just, it should be a moment of sheer like disappointment. And I think adding like a slapstick like slip would have been like a little weird. So I ultimately didn't go with that. I did animate it a little bit, but I don't think it worked. Like, and it's so subtle, it's so like simple. Not much happens, but it's just like the fact, like, you know, who we're talking about here. Like, it's fucking Karl Marx, you know? But that was a really good suggestion on Murdoch's part. Good on, golf clap for you, Murdoch. Golf clap. And this is the Hyundai part. This is like number 2 for me. This is number 2. The part where he steals his wallet, he just like, he's laughing at him not having a Hyundai, and then he just like takes his wallet, steals the money, and throws at him. The sound effect also makes it like, this is number 2 for me. It's so fucking perfect. It just fits the theme of the episode. It fits like the characters. It just makes so much sense. So obviously Monopoly Man comes and pokes him. So obviously the audio has him. The audio has him like talking for 2 people. So I'm like, okay, this is perfect. Like, I have to have another person, another aristocrat in here, and it just works so well. Even the fact that they sound the same, like, it doesn't really take away from it. It's just like, it sounds realistic. Like, it's just 2 people talking. It's like a 3-person conversation. For some reason, I thought like when they fall down from laughter, that just money just like explodes from the ground. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, this works. So this is the Hyundai. So Sofa was mentioning something like, why is the Hyundai not like decked up? Why is it not like golden? Why is it not like, you know, rims are like crazy looking? Why is it not like, you know, has like a statue in front of her or some shit? And I'm like, I thought to myself, yeah, why not? But then I also thought like, that's the joke. The joke is like, Hyundais are not that expensive. Like, Hyundais are like 25K. Hyundais are not like crazy when it comes to cars. Like, that's like typical for a decent car, you know? I bought my car for around the same price, and I'm not fucking floating in cash, you know? Like, the joke is like, they're looking down upon people that don't have this thing, but this thing is like, you know, it's like on the average cost of like, you know, buying a car. So I'm just like, yeah, I don't need to deck it out. Like, that's the joke. The joke is a Hyundai is like this, you know, high-end thing that average people can't get. But I'm like, what do you mean? It's like on par with all the other cars. So I thought like, yeah, let me keep it. Let me just make it red. Let me just whatever. Yeah, there's a lot going on here with the head turns. I had to make sure, I had to sync all that shit. That shit was annoying, but that in the end, it does make for a good effect. Obviously there's money, and yes, Golden did mention something of like, who's driving that car? So originally I was gonna have Monopoly Man drive the car. I don't know why it didn't look right. Like, I put him in the back. His hat would like go beyond the car, and I could have like, you know, shortened it or something, but I don't know. I didn't think this was Monopoly Man's moment. This was like solely Aristokyle's moment. So I just kept it as is. The answer is the money's pushing the car. The money is accelerating the car because there's so much in it. That's my answer. All right, and Ted Cruz. Ted fucking Cruz. Before this, when he was like talking this segment, he's like mentioning like, oh, you know, this allows, you know, rich people to buy politicians and stuff. So I'm like, who better to include in this car, or as that the idea of a politician being bought, better than Ted Cruz? I wanted to include Ted not only because it's Ted Cruz, but because it's like, well, because the comedic opportunities are just like massive. But I wanted to redo his model because this model looked kind of ass cheeks before this. Yeah, this is not a good Ted Cruz. God, he looks so reptilian. Yeah, so this was the Ted Cruz before. And I needed to update him. So ever since I did Wolf Blitzer, ever since I did Corin, ever since I did even Tommy Lauren, I felt more confident in like fleshing out characteristics of people that make them really look cartoony in my style. I'm like, I need to update that. That is not Ted Cruz. I need to update him. So I did. I think it looks way better. He looks way fucking better. Yeah, this is what I use as a as a template. Ted Cruz's, you know, whooshy hair, his beard, which is weird because it's like here is like where it's gray and it's like super villainy, and I'm just like, I need to update this dude. I think he looks way better. He looks like how he should, and he's only in this shot for a few seconds, like not even like maybe a second. Like he appears here and then goes away, so like maybe like a second and a half. So this is where I was gonna end it. I was gonna end it like that. You know, it does a little animation with the paper, which I thought was effective. You know, something has to happen instead of him just looking at the ground or looking at the desk. And then this is a callback. This is a callback to the second episode where Ted Cruz just slams into Kyle, and I thought it'd be a good callback to add this to the episode. This was going to be how it ends, you know, how it ends, where, you know, thank you for watching, whatever. But then I'm like, this is what I did for the week. Remember, I announced the week of where I'm like, oh, it's done. I just have some tweaking to do. This is what I was tweaking. This is what I was tweaking. This is what I was tweaking. I wanted to add Ted Cruz at the very end because I found a clip of Kyle imitating Ted Cruz and just like saying ban the IRS and just like doing a me impression where I'm like, I need to include this. And also I want to show off the model because the model was only on screen for like 2 seconds. So I'm like, why not include a portion at the end where, you know, he slams on Kyle and then just has him like come up from wherever he was and just says something ridiculous.
You know, I, Ted Cruz, like to start every day on my knees. Preferably sucking a hairy Russian man off. What? I wasn't supposed to say that. And the IRS. Me, I'm Ted Cruz, me.
That is absolutely my favorite addition, and it was like last minute. And then Kyle giggles while he does his impression. I'm like, that'd be so funny if he's like, and the IRS. And then, so this X is a callback or a little Easter egg. I don't know if it's an Easter egg, but it's a callback back to South Park, where like they close their eyes. Like every time they, you know, the South Park characters are very angry, they close their eyes and that you see like an X across their face instead of eyes. I thought that'd be a good, because this is called like, you know, secular park so much that I thought, you know, why not, you know, give a reference to South Park, the inspiration to this. So I was worried that it was gonna be too wordy, but again, like I said, like the last week I included like these little things in between the segments that really broke up the monotony of it. That's that. That shit was 5 minutes long. That is the second longest animation next to like the third one, which is Hillary and Trump, which took me much longer. And then obviously I have more skills on my resume that I'm able to do this, I guess, faster than that. This was like the most fun that I've had, and I really think this surpasses See or No. and I thought that shit was hilarious. I think this is what I have to get better at. This is what I have to overcome. This is my gold standard that I have to constantly one up. So on to episode 8, I guess. What else are we gonna do?